Good morning, everybody. It is official. It's time to get started. Welcome on this morning. We appreciate everybody jumping on. My name is Scott Buckholz. I'm your host. We also have Yas Hawk on, our co-host. We do these every Saturday morning where we get the opportunity to share a story and a deal or potentially deals from one of our investors in our community. We're a national community of investors, and we love to share what others are doing in our community. Today, we're going to be sharing something from the Utah market, Salt Lake City. We also have deals that we always share from around the country. Next week, I believe we'll be in Philadelphia. We have Arizona coming up right after that. We're going down to Florida later on this month. So again, we love to move around as we're a national community of investors, and we get to spotlight some of our investors from our community. This morning, we are sharing Brigham, and how do I pronounce your last name, Brigham?
Blackham.
Blackham.
Yep,
So
there
I
you
get
go.
to share. I don't want to mess that up, okay? So
No
we get to
problem.
share Brigham Blackham. I'm so glad you were able to take an hour out. I know you're actually out of the Utah market right now. You're up in
Yeah.
Chicago attending one of our regional events where a ton of investors come together from all over the country. Hence, you're from Utah and you're there in Chicago. I
Yeah,
believe a few weeks ago you were in Denver for a regional event.
that is correct.
And now you're in Chicago and you're up there with a lot of the investors from our community and some of their guests. And you guys are masterminding and learning about real estate, learning about our community and about how to grow your business and all the different advantages to that being a part of our community. How's that regional been so far?
Oh my goodness. I have like 5 pages of notes. It's one of those experiences that you it's kind of like describing salt to someone that's never tried it. If you haven't gone, guys, you need to make sure that you book out your schedule so that you can come and attend them. We have one more this next week over in Atlanta, and then we're gonna finish up the regional schedule with Salt Lake. So if you want to meet me in person, come to Salt Lake. It's gonna be beautiful. It's so
Oh,
fun.
that's awesome. That's awesome. That's really cool that you were able to go to Denver, Chicago, and then of course back to yours. And I wanted to get a little plug for our regional events because we don't always get the ability and someone who will actually step out of the meetings for an hour and share with us. So
Yeah,
thank you very much. So Brigham,
pleasure.
we do these for a lot of reasons. Mainly, we have a lot of guests who are kind of checking our community out, just like you and I.
Yeah.
Before we first started, we attended something, we checked something out. So we have a lot of people who jump on these and they're like, okay, what is this community of investors all about? What do they have to offer me? Why should I think about joining this community? Plug into the education, start training and learning and collaborating. Potentially, as I build relationships, do deals with other people in the community. So it's really neat in the beginning to kind of share your story. Like what were you doing before you found real estate investing? Kind of like what was the trigger? Did you go to an event? Did you read a book? Did you know somebody that was doing investing? Well, how did you decide to become an investor? And then I think one of the most important things that I love when we do these is how did you find our community? Like,
Hmm.
I know I found it through LinkedIn,
Oh,
which,
really?
most people know what LinkedIn is. But I was on there one day and I was looking for real estate investors, communities,
Yeah.
meetups, things like that. And I came across an individual out of Chicago. His name is Martin. He might be there today. But Martin was like talking about as being an investor, and I really liked what I saw. So go ahead and take it away.
For
Talk a
sure.
little bit about your story and about how you found real estate, and then why the community.
I love it. Thank you so much, Scott. And once again, thanks, Yaz, for the invite. It is a pleasure to be on today. Now, when I first came down, I had I had a very different experience. My life was really set up in I want to do whatever I can to be on stage. I was a theater guy, right? I was teaching Mandarin Chinese and theater, and it was just feeding my life force. I love it. But there's something that they don't tell you when you are going through school to be a theater practitioner. is that theater is a business, and you have to be able to pay your bills, not just be able to perform well. And I had that rude awakening. I went to a uh, just an amazing place where I could go and improve my theatrical abilities. I started out as a little bit of a professional actor on the regional stage in a little place called Hale Center Theater Orem. It's a tiny little place uh, in Utah, and I got the bug. It was so fun. I loved it. But one of the things that I realized was, after working for 7 months, I made $1,700 as a professional actor, and I was like, "Ooh, that's not going to cut it." It's not going to cut it. So I realized I had to make at least a little bit of a shift. So I was like, I'm going to do something that will at least help me cover my bills so that I can go and still do this theater thing and live my dreams. And I went back to school and I started working really hard. I got my bachelor's at Brigham Young University, which was just amazing in theater. But I focused on becoming a teacher because I have a background in Mandarin Chinese, and I loved it. I served a mission for my church for 2 years. That's where I learned the language, and I was like, I love this so much. I want to see if I can pour some of the things that I know into these budding students. And when I got into teaching, I was fresh, I was green, I was excited, and I realized that this is something that is so needed and wonderful. And started teaching for a couple years. And when I started teaching, this was interesting. I had $12,000 in my bank account. After 4 years, I had about $2,000 left. And I was like, wait a second, I'm living paycheck to paycheck. I'm not actually increasing my affluence. I am having a great time doing it, but this whole go to school, get good grades so I can get a good job is actually not panning out the way that I felt like I was promised. I was like, what am I going to do? I remember back in high school, I read a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and it shattered my reality, guys. It was one of those that when I read it, I was like, I need to buy more assets. And I didn't know how to do it. I knew I wanted to, but I didn't know how. And because of that, I I always kept my ears open to opportunity. I tried out some different network marketing groups in high school. I tried out this one called Mona V, which was a juice. I never sold anything because I didn't believe in the product, but I loved the principles of entrepreneurship. And I love the idea that someone can go out there and create value for somebody else at such a high level that they can be paid for it. And I was like, well, there's got to be a way that I can do this. So I just kept going on with my life, realizing that there was opportunity out there and I needed to hear it. I didn't know where, but I knew I needed to hear it. And fast forward a few years, guys, I was in my teaching career for 4 years, and I had someone that met my mother. Her name was Wanda Carrasquillo. She's out of Puerto Rico, right? She's someone that was a little godsend to me. She met my mom at this conference because they connected over losing a son. I lost my brother a few years ago, and it rocked my world too. It made me think, what is it that I need to do to make a shift? Because if I don't change, nothing will change. And when I came down to the community and I saw what was possible, because Wanda, she didn't know me. She invited my mom. She's like, nah, I don't really want to right now. And then I was so skeptical that I didn't even go the first time. I blew her off. I said, Belinda, you go. That's my wife. I said, you go and see if what this thing is, this real estate thing. I was just so skeptical. She went and she's like, Brigham, you need to go. I mean, I don't know if it's right for me, but this is something that would absolutely be perfect for you. You love to connect with people. You love to be able to not only like learn leadership and all this, but this is a format that you can go out there and actually buy cash flowing assets. And there's people in the community doing it, not just talking about it. That was the novel concept, because I had a lot of friends that I was surrounded with that talked about it, but never did it. And when you came here to Renatus, our amazing group, I love them so much. It shattered my reality again in the best way. I saw that I could not only buy real estate, I could open up my opportunities, and I could have fun while I was doing it. I could create more opportunity, not just for myself, but for other people. And I'm just so thankful for Wanda Carrasquillo following up with me at least one more time, because I didn't go the first week, but she invited me graciously. I was so thankful for that, because my life is fundamentally different. When I first started, guys, I was 30 years old. I had zero credit. I'd been listening to Dave Ramsey and never had a credit card. Now, when you're 30 years old and you've never had a credit card, that means you have a zero, a goose egg, a laughable credit score. I did not have a report. So I went into to the bank for the first time to buy my own house. And they're like, your credit score is LOL, my friend, because you do not have anything that we can go off of. We don't know you. I was like, I've been banking here for 10 years. What are you talking about? They're like, you have no loans. I was like, well, I don't have any debt. That's great, right? No debt. That's what Dave Ramsey said. Cut up your credit cards or don't even get them. And sometimes the things we don't know can hurt us way more than the things that we do. And that was one of the things that was like a revelation to me with this opportunity, that when you understand that all wealth is created through conversation, when you understand that you are one conversation away from changing the rest of your life, and you're one relationship away from changing the rest of your life, all of these pieces of the puzzle started to come together. And I love to think of Renatus as this. Every time I come to an event, it's like getting one more puzzle piece to the life that I want to design. And you put that puzzle piece in and you hear somebody else's experience, like, oh my gosh, I can go do that. I'm going to put that puzzle piece together. And then you hear all of these different experiences from people that are doing it, not just talking about it, people that are practitioner instructors, and you see what is possible. And you no longer believe. It shatters your beliefs because you know it's true. You see it, you can feel it, you can touch it. And that is something that is so fundamentally different, that I said, I'm going to jump in with full heart and do everything I can to be part of this community. It took me a couple weeks to figure out how to fund it, because on a teacher's salary, I was living paycheck to paycheck on that razor's edge, did not have a credit score. But because of what I've learned in the education, I was able to change everything about my credit. I was, within a year, I was able to actually go buy my own house. I bought my first rental, not my first rental, my first deal that wasn't even my own house. I bought a fix and flip property from a distressed landlord in my first year of doing this. And I learned everything from the education, how to do it. And I actually bought it creatively. And that was the thing that gave me my belief check, right? Sometimes we need a checkup from the neck up, guys. I didn't realize how much I needed this support, because you think about all of the education that we have. If education was all that you needed, all librarians would be driving Lamborghinis. Guys, every single one of us have amazing backgrounds and experiences, but if you're not in an environment, in a culture where everyone is cheering you on and cultivating you to grow and get to that next level, you miss out on so much of your life. So because of what this education has done for me, guys, I went from one short-term rental in my first year. I did one fix and flip that earned me $22,500 without any of my own money, without any of my own credit. I didn't even do the work. I just helped coordinate everything while I was going to school and teaching all these kids Mandarin, Chinese, and theater. And after that, that was the seed money I needed to get my first short-term rental. And what's cool is my sister, she's on here right now, Emily. My first short-term rental, I didn't have hardly any money to put into it. She let me have her bed, which was an amazing bed. And I put that in my first short-term rental. We had an idle asset in my parents' place, and it totally changed what was possible for me because of the family that I surround myself with and the people that I surround myself with. I saw opportunity that I didn't see before. So I'm just so thankful for this amazing opportunity. And we can dive a little bit more into the rest of the story. But I went from one short-term rental from year one all the way to 9 where I'm at right now. Did that answer your question, Scott? I know I can go into a lot.
All I got to say to that, besides, drop the mic, is that your sister must really love you to give away her bed.
Right? She does love me. She is
Golly.
the best. She was downsizing to a queen because she's like, it just feels a little tight in my room. I was like, can I have that, please? And she's like,
Oh
yeah,
my
here you go.
gosh.
It was amazing. And I'm just so thankful
So,
because if
so
you don't
Brick.
ask, you will not receive.
Oh, I know.
Anyway, okay,
Absolutely.
go ahead, Scott.
Absolutely. No, no. You threw out so many golden nuggets there. I mean, we could just replay what you just went through and some of the little words and some of the phrases and some of the thoughts and the processes and the mindsets that you laid out for us that we could spend hours just talking about that. So
Yeah,
no, great intro, way to share with everybody what you're doing. But to summarize for myself and for others that are
absolutely.
on, teaching arts, theater, got started, no credit, like zero credit, not like a 400 credit score. It's not that you had bad credit. You just had no credit.
I had no credit. So I was luckily I didn't
Very
have
little
bad
money.
credit.
That's right. Very little money. Okay. But you got started. You surrounded yourself with entrepreneurs, with
Mhm.
people who are actually doing deals, who
Yeah.
are building wealth. You learn from practitioners that are the best in the industry. Okay. And you're able to grow your business from 1 to 9 units because there could be some folks on today who are in the short-term rental niche or
Mhm.
market or space, whatever you want to call it, that maybe are doing one deal. They have one short-term rental. Maybe they own a property. Maybe they're house hacking. They're renting out their basement. Maybe they're even doing the arbitrage model where they don't own the asset. They're leasing a apartment or a house or whatever it is. But they go like, I want to grow my business.
Mhm.
So let's talk about it. Let's get into this. And I know that we don't have time to go through 9 units,
Right.
and you're kind of narrow down on one, but take it from there. Talk about, because you've already mentioned you did a flip, so you did the fix
Mhm.
and flip strategy.
Yeah.
You're doing short-term rental strategy. Did you also say you had a long-term rental, or did
As
I
of right
miss
now, I
that?
don't have any long-term rentals, but I will be getting some soon.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. All right. And so let's talk about short-term rentals and let's talk about how you built your business.
absolutely. So, like I said, guys, when I first got started, I did not know how to do this. I didn't have any contacts that I literally none of my friends knew how to do it. And none of the people that I surrounded myself before I came down to the community had any inkling how to invest in real estate outside of their personal residence. But because of this information, I was not only able to become educated, I was able to surround myself with a community of investors that gave me confidence while I was getting more competent. Because when you have competence, your confidence level skyrockets. So I plugged into the education. What was one of the cool things that before I really dive into the numbers on this first deal? One of the things was when I was learning about how to do this, uh, I was serious as I was taking my notes. I was like, how do I apply what I'm learning? You learn and then you do something with it. You learn and you do something with it. And I wasn't perfect at that, guys. It's not about being perfect, but doing what you can with what you have. And I came down and I saw what was possible from Jay Massey. He's one of our practitioner instructors. He's made over $1 million in short-term rental. So when someone is really at that level, you you don't say anything, you just listen, and then you do what they do. Now, as I got uh into short-term rentals, my very first property was basically a borrowed idle asset from my parents that they weren't using very much. And then when I dove uh, into taking this more and more serious, I did the arbitrage model where you rent out a property and you re-rent that property, kind of like a sublease. And it's made all the difference. So I'm going to actually talk about the last deal that I did, which was a few months ago. And I'm going to share my screen so that you guys can see where it is. Because one of the things that's so key to this is you have to have a community to build off of and to inspire yourself and to stay motivated. The start of this unit happened a year and a half ago. I met a man who had an apartment complex, and what was cool with this apartment complex was not only was it like literally the most beautiful one in the area. This is in Ephraim, Utah. It was one that they had a challenge. And what we do as real estate investors is we recognize challenges, and then we say, who is it that owns that challenge? We find out who owns the challenge. And if we have a service that we can provide to solve that challenge, a lot of times you create an opportunity for yourself, because deals are not found, they are created. They are created by understanding what's possible. And when I spoke with this guy, Joe, who's kind of hurting, he didn't have all of his units rented out in Ephraim, Utah. And I was like, looking at the numbers, this is going to be an amazing short-term rental unit. So I'm going to pull up my screen right now so you can see the pictures of this. But I saw an opportunity there, and I talked to him. And when I first talked to him, he had 5 units is what he said he would be willing to let me take over. And I was like, you know what? I really only want to do 1 right now because that area is not fully tested yet. I'll do 1. And he's like, I don't know about that. So we put it on the back burner because he wasn't quite in enough pain yet. So I talked with him again, and this was about 8 months after that original one, because follow-up is key, guys. You don't just want to talk once, you want to see if that opportunity comes back up. And this time he was way more open to it because he'd had a few months of not having people book that place out. And I said, all right, what are you doing and how can I help? And he had 3 short-term rentals in this unit, and they were doing okay. So that the model was already proven there. So I felt pretty confident. So he had 3 of the units. I was like, well, there's 2 left that he's willing to have in this complex. I'm going to do 1. And then as I started getting into this, I was able to get a second one. But let me make sure that I can pull up my screen really quick. It's not letting me share. Go down. 1 second. Here we go. There we are. Okay. So here's some of the pictures of this unit over here in Ephraim, Utah. Okay, this is off my direct booking website, staybnb.com. Now, when I saw this opportunity, it was a 2-bedroom unit. It's beautiful. It had never had anybody stay in it before. It was literally brand new, and it had been vacant for months. And I was like, interesting. Why would that be happening? Because it's not marketed right. Because the condition was beautiful, the price was right, but it wasn't marketed well. And when I saw that, I was like, I can market this place really, really well. So I had just closed down a unit in Midvale, Utah. I did a partnership with a guy in the community, and he wanted to do different things. Like, you know what? I'm going to take this furniture, and instead of renewing my lease up there in Midvale, I'm going to take the furniture and bring it down here to Ephraim, Utah, because we have one of the best aggregate rock climbing locations in the country, Maple Canyon, that bring in a ton of people. We have Snow College, which is just down the street, less than a mile from this place. You got a 4-minute drive to be there. And that will pull in a ton of people that want to come see games or theater, because it's so important to know who you serve. So he started with the who, and then every decision that I made with this property all came down to who am I serving? Why am I serving them? And I learned all that in the classes, guys. This is not new information. If you have taken the classes, you will understand. And when you say, you know, I want to plug into the system so I know how to do this, you'll be able to see patterns of success. So my business is called staybnb.com. So I want to do a B theme with this one. And I don't like to do it over the top, but I do like to make sure that if you know the theme, you're like, oh, I can totally see that. So this is the master bedroom, and this is a 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment in Ephraim, Utah. It's on the top level in the corner. And one of the things I learned early on as a short-term rental host is it's really important to make sure that the rooms that you have are not attached, so that the parents can have a good time and not have to have the kids listen to them. They can lock the door and say, kids, you stay over there. So what's nice about this apartment, it's set up where they're actually separate. They're not sharing a wall, and that's key. And this is actually only sharing 1 wall with anybody else, and that's the kitchen. So that's really cool when you can get a corner and you're only sharing one wall and it's not even where the bedrooms are. So that's as far as a layout, when you're looking for it, I want to make sure that when you're walking in, you can actually see the view, which is nice. When you walk in, there's actually a view because there's some beautiful windows there. And then you can have the bedroom separated. So the layout fit perfect. So when I was looking for it, I was like, this is going to make sense. I can do this. And this was the master bedroom. I only put king size beds if I can help it in my short-term rentals. I've got a couple queens, but most of the time it is king size beds. This is the master. It has an ensuite bathroom. And this is the second bedroom. Now, because we're in Utah and we have a lot of really awesome nature around us, I actually wanted to lean into this theme of orange and the way that the arches are set up. So actually the way that I even staged this, you can see there's an arch here. And in one of the other pictures, you can also see there's an arch with the way that the pillows were taken around here. And there's a little arch right there as well. But it's so important to make sure that your theme is simple and cohesive and not full of little tchotchkes and stuff. So when I found this place, not only did the layout work, but the location was fantastic. And I was thinking, is this going to serve my person the very best that it possibly can? And very grateful for this opportunity, because I saw immediately that people were interested in what I had. Now, this is the open floor plan. And one of the things that's really important when you are coming into a space is it inviting? If you have, so for instance, if you had this couch turned the other way right here to block, that would actually close off the room. But because of the way this is staged, it actually creates its own space here and over here that feels separate. And a lot of these design principles I've learned by doing it, not just seeing it, because people want to feel invited, welcomed. And I literally have a welcome sign up there. So the first thing they see is welcome when they look in. Now, it's not just about what the property is, it's who you're serving. So as I'm going through some of these guys, I'm going to go who, what, where, when, why, and how, right? But I'm actually going to start with why, because starting with why is so important. Now, when I'm pulling these up, the why behind all of this is, who am I serving? Why do we even do short-term rentals? Why? It comes down to, when you're doing short-term rentals like this, it's a way that you can actually increase your cash flow without having all of the burden of a down payment, because this is a rental in an apartment complex, and I rent it legally, ethically, and morally, fully disclosed to the landlord. And they're actually so grateful that we can do this, because we're the best tenants that they possibly could have. And I come in here and I say, why is this something that I would want to do? In the beginning, for me, it was all about, how do I increase my cash flow so I don't have to teach anymore in the high school? And I'm so thankful that I found this strategy, because when I first came down, I didn't have any cash flow, any assets, any credit. And stepping into this space, I was able to increase my cash flow. And that allowed me to free up some of my time and my stress, which made it so that I can actually do more with real estate and do more with this community. So last year, I actually stepped away from my job so that I could do this full time. I'm so thankful. Because of this strategy, I was able to do that. Now, the why, a little bit deeper. Guys, there are 4 different reasons that people buy rental properties. 4 different reasons. The first one is cash flow. And if you are only going to do this rental arbitrage strategy, that's what you focus on. It's cash flow. It's kind of like a strip mall. When you go and you see there's 12 or 14 corporate rentals where they have their storefronts. All of those storefronts are renting from whoever owns that property. That is just like what we're doing. We're a business being rented out of this apartment complex. So it's really, really important that we understand the why, because if you don't know the why, then the what, why, how, all the other things don't make as much sense. So the why for me is, yes, I want the cash flow so that I can live a better lifestyle, so that I can re-engage with my community and do things that matter to me, so that I can have a system that I can rely on day in, day out. Because you think about retirement, you've probably heard this whole idea of retirement, that you go to school, you get good grades to have a good job, and then you do that for 40 years, and then you live on 40% of what you made for the rest of your life and hope that your money doesn't run out before you die. And I was like, I don't necessarily want to do that. The why for me was, how do I make sure that this property and this opportunity stays alive and it grows? Cash flow. One of the things that Jay Massey talks about in his classes with the why behind this strategy is it is the single easiest way to learn how to create massive cash flow with the lowest barrier to entry. Because you think about it, if you are going to rent a property, how many of you have ever rented a property before? Let's see, how many of you have rented a property? In the chat, I'm curious, how many of you rented a property before? Not bought it, just rented it. My guess is a handful. We've got Cindy, absolutely. Who else has rented a property before? You've gone through the process. Yes, Chad, you've got Emily, you've got Tony. All of us have at least done that. So you're investing in real estate, even though you didn't know which side of it you were on, right? You can make money doing this if you are educated. If you're not, guys, there's so many people that come in and they think they know how to do it. They've rented a property, but they don't take the time to become educated, and they barely break even, and then they even start losing money, and then they get out of the business. COVID wiped out so many hosts that didn't know what they were doing. So getting educated first is so important. So going back to the why, it's for cash flow. This is not a long-term wealth generation technique. There are other classes for that. There are other strategies for that. This is a semi-active income. It's not passive income, but it's not fully active income either. You can systemize this in a way that allows you to actually step away and let the cleaners do their job, be scheduled correctly. You can let the operations managers go out there and make sure that everything is well maintained and in the highest order. All these different elements come down to, are you educated before you go take those next steps? So the other thing with this why, because it's so important that I want to make sure you wrap your head around this. If you can increase your units of production, it is a way that you can increase your cash flow without as much upfront capital cost. Okay. Now I'm going to go through a couple more pictures here so you can see the rest of the layout here. This is from the front room, looking back at the front door, and the open floor plan. I just love it. And this is a very modern look. This is the local college, Snow College, and I put that on there because I know people are specifically coming to Snow College, and that is one of those subtle triggers to say, oh, this must be really close to Snow College. And these are the colors of Snow College, right? I also have orange is another one of their colors. But you think about who you're serving and you understand why you will put certain things into any unit. If you don't understand who you're serving, then you will make erroneous choices. And eventually you'll have to either listen to your guest or get really bad reviews. So that's really important. And then coffee, this is something that I don't personally drink any coffee. I know a lot of people love it, but guests, if you understand who you're serving, there is an expectation that coffee is provided and it's free, right? Period. So I like to highlight this in all of my pictures. And to make sure that it looks very simple in this, I actually cleared off all the other things. So you can see, oh, there's a Keurig. And I have not just one pod like it is in a hotel or maybe two, but I have a plethora of choices. So the other thing that is so important when you're talking about the why behind all of this is not only is it cash flow, not only is it a down payment generation machine so that you can go and buy long-term rentals if you would like to, or put it into your next property that you buy instead of rent. This is a way that you can practice the systems and understand how to scale this. This is one of the most scalable models of short-term rentals there is, being able to rent and then re-rent. Because how many times have you driven past a for rent sign and thought, I wonder if they would be open to short-term rentals if I knew what I was doing. There's so many opportunities out there. You have to just sometimes say, what do I really want? And be really specific. Because if you're not specific, you're going to miss out on a lot of things. Okay.
Hey, Brigham.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I got a couple questions that come through the chat
Absolutely.
room.
Let's hear them.
So you did cover this a little bit. Maybe you want to expand just a little bit on it.
No
So
problem.
Tanya asked, did you have to sign a contract or permission to rent out the apartment?
Yes.
So
So
you
that's
said
part of,
you
Mhm.
said you were ethical upfront. Can you
Yep.
expand on that a little bit?
So I was actually, from the very first time I talked to this property manager, I was upfront about what I was doing, why I was doing it, and why I am the very best tenant that he could possibly have. Here's a couple of reasons that you may be able to talk like that. And you learn all of these in the classes and you'll understand way more in depth. But basically, I have it professionally cleaned typically once to twice a week. How many other tenants are doing that? I have it professionally maintained because my guests demand it, right? If the washing machine is not fixed before the next guest checks in, I will get a bad review, and then those reviews will compound and my opportunity's gone. So I have not only I have to do it at the highest level because my guests demand it, but it's something that I want to keep my reputation, and it's so important. So professional cleanings, professionally maintained. It is inspected monthly. Where how many times do you have a rental get inspected if it's a long-term rental? Maybe once when they check out before you turn it over and let somebody else rent it out. I actually can screen guests, and if they are inappropriate or they're bad and they're breaking rules, instead of having to go through a month-long eviction process or a 10 or 12-day eviction process, depending on your state, I can get them out in 15 to 30 minutes. That's knowing the systems, that's knowing what's possible, and then recognizing the problem before it becomes a really big challenge. And the whole idea behind this is you're legal, ethical, moral, and very clear in your disclosures of what you're doing. Because if you can't market on Airbnb, VRBO, Booking.com, different online travel agencies, then you are actually shooting yourself in the foot. You have to make sure that the apartment complex is 100% okay with it. And also you want to make sure that they know why you are doing what you're doing, why you're the very
Absolutely.
best choice for them and their tenant base, because you're solving their favorite problem, which is vacancy. You think about it, if this is going really well, am I ever going to want to move? No. If it goes well, I want to keep this gravy train rolling. So you don't cut it off immediately. So that's a
How about
huge.
the decor? How
Yeah,
about the
go ahead.
decorating? How about the decorating?
Oh my
Are
goodness.
you doing that yourself? Are you getting help from others?
Luckily, when I first got started, I didn't know much about what I was doing. I have my mother who helped me do a little bit, but I have a theatrical background, and one of the things I've learned is how to mimic and model what other people are doing. If you guys learn the M&Ms, I learned this from Darren Kidd. Mimic and model. You find what is working in your area, and if you really understand what's working, then you can say, what is the amenities that my guests expect, that if it's not there, I will be missing. And you can say, all right, is there a place to sit down when I come in here so I can take my shoes off? That was something I didn't know when I first started. But you'll notice I've got a place where they can sit down here and here that's comfy. Are there extra blankets? And are the extra blankets adding to the decor, or are they just a distraction? I now choose blankets that are very uh, subtly adding to the decor rather than taking away, right? Because there are a lot of times where you'll see a short-term rental house, they'll just have tons of blankets in their photos, and you're like, none of those fit your overall theme, and it actually is a distraction. You can still have them in the unit. Don't take pictures of them though, because you're marketing what people want. Is it inviting or not? And then staging is huge as well. But you just have to be willing to mimic and model. If you mimic and model the things that people are doing well, and you don't just listen to yourself, this is this is 4 years of experience speaking. My very first unit was not that good, guys. Done is better than perfect. And here's something that I hope that you understand. So I'm a Mandarin Chinese teacher. One of the ways that I conceptualize perfection is this idea of complete. In Greek, it's teleos. In Mandarin, it's wan, which means to be finished. And you're only finished when you've completed that circle, you've completed it. If you are done with what it is you're doing, you can say, this is the very best product I can produce right now. If you brought that to the community of real estate investors that are in the trenches doing this, you can say, hey, what do you notice that I could improve on? Is there anything that you feel isn't as welcoming as it could be? Is there any way that I could help attract more of the guests that I really want? All of these elements will help you get to that next level. And it's a collaboration. Guys, we don't become self-made millionaires. We are team-made millionaires. All of us are at different stages. And that mindset of collaboration is one of the things I absolutely love about our community. It's not uncommon for someone to say, hey, you know what? I was looking at your pictures, and I think if you actually had them step back a little bit so you can see the whole room and make sure the aspect is a little bit wider, you can actually show how much more inviting and spacious your place is. Like, that's great. I'm going to make sure that's in my standard operating procedures when I have my photographer come in and look at it. So it's huge. Did that answer your question at least? I feel like I have
Yeah,
so
yeah,
much that I want to share that I'm
yeah.
like,
I know, and it's hard to get it all in within an hour
no
because
problem.
I can tell you right now, we're going to invite you back out in about 3 months to have you back
Oh,
out
for
again.
sure.
You
Yeah.
know, so and I know you want to have some time to kind of get to some numbers and share people. The pictures are absolutely beautiful. We're
Thank
getting
you.
such incredible compliments about everything.
Mhm.
Um, I just find it really helpful for people. You know, you mentioned, your first one that you did was not that good. You didn't design it, you decorate it, quite, but it was complete.
Mhm.
You took action, you completed it, and started generating cash flow, and you
Exactly.
learned from that, and you've been able to build up to 9 units.
Yeah.
And if other folks on today did not catch, Brigham's background from teaching to, he mentioned he was able to step away from his teaching career, not because, I mean, and I, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but you love theater, you love
Yeah.
teaching, you love helping other people. It was the fact that, let's look at reality here. And, cash is not everything. Cash flow is everything. And you didn't see that happening for you. And so now you stepped away, and I know how, gracious you are to be on today while you're traveling, you're in Chicago, but you love helping other people out.
Yeah.
And that's so important for me that I can help others out. So thank you for all of what you've shared so far today, but I know you want to share a little bit about the numbers as well. And so if you want to, you're pulling up some cool little sayings here. I love it.
Yeah. No, I was just going through my pictures here. Guys, we have so many opportunities in front of us. I'll talk very basically about the numbers and why it matters. When you're running your numbers, I learned this from Jay Massey. Most of the time, in America, around $500 to $800 is what you can expect from a unit. In my experience, it's been around $400 to $500 in Utah. So this is net cash flow after all of your expenses. You pay your rent, you pay all of the systems, you pay all of the different elements to make sure that everything is cleaned and it's in pristine condition. You've got all the maintenance costs, you've got Wi-Fi, all the different utilities. There's a lot of different expenses. And you sometimes are like, wow, am I going to make any money this month? And you finally hit that number. This one is typically just under $2,000 is what I have to cover before I make any money. Typically, right about there. But luckily, my first month doing this, I had someone come in and say, this place is perfect for me. I'm going to be here for the next 3 months. I want to try this out. And I was able to get a midterm rental in there. Now, one of the cool things with that was a set income for a time. I was making about $600 net cash flow on that unit specifically. And that was a conversation that I had in the parking lot because I was open to it and I was letting people know what I'm doing. Sometimes it comes down to, are you living your life out loud? Are you living your life in a way that people are recognizing what you're doing? I'm getting better at that. Guys, I am not perfect at this. I'm not even close to the best in the whole community at short-term rentals. I'm working on myself every single day, becoming more of a professional every single day, and recognizing what is possible. So when I look at the numbers, there are rent. That's the biggest thing you have to take in consideration. Is the rent something that makes sense for this area? As soon as you pay your rent, then you'll have your utilities. Then you will have, I typically use YouTube TV, and I have that split up over 9 units. I've also got Hulu, which I split up over 9 units. And then I've got Vivint, which is one of my biggest expenses there outside of other utilities. I also have like Hospitable. That's my channel manager. That's a way that all of my calendars can be synced from booking.com, Airbnb, and VRBO, and staybnb.com, my personal website. All of those are connected using Hospitable. So I have that as another added expense. I've got a dynamic pricing tool. And what that means is there are certain days throughout the month that are going to be more valuable because of an eclipse. Like this last week, I had some days that booked for $300 for one night in a 1-bedroom apartment. And I was like, oh, I wish I had 50 of these, because most of the time that place books for like 80. So it was 80 to $100 every single night. So it was awesome. And I was just so thankful for that. But having a dynamic pricing tool that recognizes demand in the market, and then leveraging it and utilizing that. Sometimes those compression days is what we call it, when tons of people want to book and there's not a lot of availability, that allows your price to go up. So I pay for price labs. And then you also have cleanings. Cleanings is, if you don't have a good cleaner, guys, you might as well not do this business. You have to learn how to screen cleaners and have consistency in your standards. And if you don't have a good standard operating procedure that allows your cleaners to come in, get every single checklist item done in a time frame that is in between 11 a.m. and 3 p.m., you might as well not do the business because it is very tight. Now, number wise, with this unit, so far I've been able to make just under $500 net cash flow since I started it a few months ago, which I'm just so thankful for. Guys, you never know what is going to happen for you if you don't take action. If you take action, amazing things can happen. And I wanted to share a couple of reasons why to do short-term rentals, which I feel like I've done, but I also wanted to share a couple of reasons why some people, if you're like, hey, I'm not sure if this strategy is for me yet, I want to share why not to as well, if that's okay, to make it so it's not all rainbows. Okay. Now, how many of you are really great at answering your phone? I would love in the chat. How many of you are like fantastic at answering your phone? You're like, middle of the night, I will answer my phone. If there is a challenge, I'll make sure it happens. If you're great at answering your phone whenever, 24/7, you can make this business work. I did that for 3 years. I knew what was in the classes, but I was reaching at point where I was like, okay, how do I make it so that I don't have to be the one answering the phone in the middle of the night? The answer is a virtual assistant, which is nice, and we can help you guys learn how to do that. You learn it in the classes. It's fantastic. Next thing, if you don't have an amenity and you haven't provided it for people, do you have the mindset of abundance to say, if one of my guests want this, will other guests want it, or is it just a single thing? Customer service. If you don't like customer service, guys, this is not the model for you. It is not the model for you, because this is a hospitality business. And there are sometimes people that are disappointed because they're like, well, I thought I had this. I was like, well, is it in the pictures, or what did I say it was going to be in there? No, but I thought it would. It's like, oh, that's great, because that's feedback for you. Because there's no failures in this business. There is feedback, though. And you can choose whether or not you want to provide those ideas. Next is when you are looking at this strategy, I have a question for all of you. Have you ever played chess? How many of you have ever played the game chess? I'm just curious if you've ever played chess. The rules of chess are simple. However, to become a chess master, is it easy? No. It is simple, right? This is not a difficult model. Rent it, furnish it, put it on Airbnb. Any one of you can learn how to do that at the basic level. To become a master at this, it is simple. It is not easy. You want to make sure you're surrounding yourself with people that are doing it. I've learned way more from just being connected to this community than I even learned in the classes. The classes are amazing. You need the classes. If you don't have the classes, guys, I'm telling you, you do not want to do this strategy. You don't want to actually do very much real estate outside of your personal house and maybe one rental, because you will be overwhelmed and you'll most likely lose money. And it's dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. It's like giving a doctor that had just came to med school, you're like, hey, you want to cut open a knee? Here's a scalpel. You're like, oh, so you just cut it open, right? It's pretty good. You're like, okay, it's simple, but it's not easy. So those are some of the reasons why it is so important to become educated before you take that next step, before you make massive mistakes. Because you think about it, one really bad real estate deal can take you out of the game. But you think about one good real estate deal can set you up for your future. And one of the other things, guys, I wanted to share this because we are running close on time. I wanted to share one little nugget that I feel is super important. All of us have something that drives us. All of us come down for different reasons. It could be time, could be increase more money. It could be we want more friends. We want people that are encouraging us. We want to know a system. How do we create valuable relationships? How do we create that next level of opportunity for ourselves? And some of us just want to be noticed at work. We want to say, hey, look, I did this thing. Did that help? And some of us want to see the proof. Now, this is proof for me that I know the education works. I've seen it not just in my own community in Utah, it's actually across the country. I'm sitting in proof right now that this education works. This is a commercial building that the Rose actually own. It is proof that it works. So I no longer believe that this works. I know it. When you have that transference of belief to knowledge that it works, that is only able to come if you are surrounded by people that are doing it and you start taking action. So without any other ideas that I could share, literally, I've got multiple pages of notes I could share with you. But if I can just boil it down to this, guys, you want to make sure that you become educated so you can increase your lifestyle. Come have some more friendships with us. Do cool things with cool people, because we have a system that works and is reliable and rarely breaks. And what's cool, when there is a break, it's a great system that we can actually adjust. And guys, we are surrounded by people that are encouraging, that show us respect for what we're doing and honor us for the opportunities that are given. And if you want to look for the proof, guys, I am one example of over 28,000 students that have gone through our program. This education changed my life. It has given me opportunities that I would never have had I not made the choice to do something different. And guys, we're just getting started. I hope that you took some of the things that I shared. And I know I have so much more that I would love to share, but I hope that you got at least something of value today, because we are here to help you help yourself. And we're here to give you opportunity and say, do you want to do this or not? If you want to do this, we're going to give you a hug. We're going to say, welcome to the family. Learn a little bit more, do a little bit more, have a little bit more, because in our process of becoming, that is where the things happen. It's become plus, right, as well as do. And then you're going to have some amazing things happen in your life. I hope that was helpful, guys. I am so grateful for
Brigham,
you guys.
it is absolutely amazing. What a wonderful tour. I do want to mention for everybody on today, if you're a guest and you'd like to learn more about this, our community, like to learn more maybe about the short-term rental strategy, if you'd like to learn more about the education and the classes and the trainings that Brigham have been talking about, right after today's property tour, it starts at 5 after the top of the hour. We actually have an overview, an introduction into our community, into our classes, and how you can do and learn how to do what Brigham is doing and what so many others in our community are doing. Whether it's fix and flip, whether it's long-term rentals, mid-term rentals, short-term rentals, wholesaling, commercial, multifamilies, whatever it might be. Get back to who invited you. They'll get you a link. Send them a text. Right now, send them a text and say, hey, I'd like to plug in right after this and see what this is all about. Brigham, you are amazing. Thank you for taking time out. For folks on today, we appreciate you coming out. Next week, we're going to be spotlighting two amazing investors, amazing community members from Philadelphia. We're going to be sharing a flip there. That'll be really cool. Then we'll be back the week after in Arizona, sunny Arizona. And then we got Florida coming up too. But Brigham, we appreciate you. I know you're in Chicago at a huge regional event that we're holding where there's a ton. I'm imagining there's several hundred real estate investors that are plugged in there this weekend, just learning lots of information. And thank you for taking time out and joining us.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure, Scott. Thank you so much. Guys, I hope that you take action today because it's not just about the information. Like I said earlier, I learned this from my friend Steve Larson. If all it was, if knowledge was all that you needed, every librarian would drive Lamborghinis. It's way more than education, guys. It's about implementation. It's about being in the right environment. And we want to love you into success. So I hope you have a wonderful day and God bless. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Brigham. Everybody have a beautiful weekend. For everyone who has a sweetheart out there, it is Sweetest Day. Don't forget to get your Sweetest Day card. Guys, take care. We'll see you next weekend.